Morning and welcome to day 2 of the 2021 Missouri A&OER Symposium. I'm Jaleh Fazelian, Associate Dean of Libraries at the University of Missouri St. Louis and co-chair of the Planning Committee. Before we get started with today's session on the exploration of effective OER practice and pedagogical benefits in online course design and delivery, there's just a few logistical things I need to get to. So, live captioning is available during this presentation. Please find the link located under the Handouts tab. This session will be recorded and provided within the event portal following the symposium. All sessions will also be posted on the conference website as well, beginning next week. A copy of the PowerPoint presentation will be provided under the Handouts tab at the end of the session. Please enter all live Q&A. Please enter all your questions in the live Q&A box. We will do our best to answer them. Well, not as they are received, but we're going to hold questions till the end. But I promise you that our presenters will see all of your questions. We encourage you to engage with us and other attendees in the discussion forum. We will be asking some poll questions throughout the session, and you'll be able to participate through those under the poll tab. If you have any technical issues, the MEC staff are behind the scenes to provide support, so be sure to reach out through the live support button. And now on to our presenters. Grace Zhou is an instructional designer at the University of Missouri System. Her current projects include collaborating with faculty to create online and blended courses through the full course design process, facilitating online teaching workshops, conducting quality course reviews, providing academic unit support on a scaled and collaborative programs, including curriculum mapping. Her teaching experience includes courses taught in traditional face-to-face environments, as well as those offered asynchronously online. Her scholarship is in the field of open education resources and open education practice, instructional design, and learning technologies. She's joined today by Pearl Shea, an instructional designer at the University of Missouri System. She obtained her PhD degree at the Department of Special Education at the University of Kansas. Her research specialization is on the universal design of learning and mobile learning to develop cognitive and social skills for children and youth in formal and informal modern learning environments. Her scholarship primarily focuses on the study of developing cognitive and social skills, improving diversity in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields, professional development for implementing UDL framework, and online learning. Please allow me to welcome Grace and Pearl. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaleh. Hello. So we're so glad you're with us today. We're gonna explore together the effective OER practice and the pedagogical benefits in online course design and delivery. As Jaleh mentioned earlier, we are instructional designers, and so we are passionate about this topic because it's really to do with the student success. So today we're gonna cover, we're gonna talk a little bit about us and our session outcomes, and also we want to bring the historical issues and trends to highlight why the topic matters, why the topic matters even more in the current situation or times of crisis. And we also will cover pedagogical benefits of OER. And at the end, we're going to share with you some examples and to contextualize and what we said. And we also have a Q&A session at the end. We want to hear from you. We want to know what's your questions and then your challenges or the opportunity you see OER can be used in your courses. Okay, and then a little bit more about myself. And actually, Jaleh did a really good job introducing ourselves. So I'm one of the instructional designers from Office of E-Learning with the University of Missouri System, and also my scholarship and really focusing on online education and OER and OER related and the teaching and learning practices. I will hand it over to my colleague, Pearl. She will talk a little bit more about herself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for this great opportunity for Grace and I to present this topic to you. I think Jaleh really has done a great job introduce ourselves, so I think we can just move to the next slide.
All right, so we really want you to be able to, after this session, so if you could, and you can keep those outcomes in your mind, and we'll talk about historical and current issues related to OER, and so we'll have an activity to help you to identify existing challenges related to OER. And after all the presentations, and then we'll tell more about pedagogical benefits of OER. And hopefully you can take away what you learned today and then can apply appropriate OER practice or effective course design strategies in your current courses. And we want to know more about you. We want to know who are you, and then what are roles you play in your OER community or in your OER context or in your institution or in your field. So we're gonna have a live polling pops up sometime or soon. So would you check and the best describes you? You're probably wearing the multiple hats like us, and we're instructional designers, and we are also the faculty developer. So you can choose select the multiple roles if you are in your profession or field. We'll give you maybe 1 minute or so. Okay. All right. I couldn't see the live poll, so I'm assuming it's actually showing. Great. All right. Great. So we will have, let's see here. We have an 8% instructors and 29% instructional designers. Great. So we have some ID fellows are here. And also we have an instructional technologists, or you call it learning technology professional. We have our librarians here. Great. We have a faculty developer, and all of us probably work in the higher education. Thank you very much. We'll keep you in our mind, your roles and your hats in our mind while we are presenting, so we can intentionally tailor our topics into suit your needs. Okay, so now we're gonna do something like activity. We want to know more about your challenges in using OER in your context. So as you see this slide, and then there are actually 3 ways you can access a Padlet. We're going to use the Padlet for all the activities for our session. So either you can type this URL in your browser if you think that's most convenient. And also the other way is to click the link from the discussion forum, or you can scan the QR code and then can take you to our Padlet activity. If I click on that link, it will take you to this page. So you will see the prompts on the left-hand side. It will ask you what are the challenges or opportunities you're facing when using OER. If you already integrated OER in your courses, and what are your challenges, specific challenges you have. And also on the right-hand side, we have our session handouts or resources provided, make it available for you. And it includes the slides and also includes the Padlet activities for you, and also as well as all the resources we're going to cover today. You also can take it away, and then after the session, you should be able to access them. Okay, we'll give you some time to think about the question, and then to, in case you don't know how to use Padlet, you can just double click or anywhere of the board, or you can call a board and then enter the title or enter your answer, and then you can just post it. I think I can refresh. Let's see if we have some answers. Okay, so looks like everyone is working on it. Okay, so too much is either high. There is not much about how it works. Yeah, it's really a valid challenge. Buy-in from the PTB. Is it faculty or instructors? Okay, so I'll be patient and then to look at all the answers. Yes, finding OER definitely is very challenging, and if you are fortunate, you're in the field of life science or physics, you may easily find an open textbook. Or if you're in the discipline of library science, you probably wouldn't easy to find a really relevant OER materials to adapt for your courses. That's definitely a valid challenge. Difficult to get faculty in my department to agree on OER. Yes, to faculty buy-in. So yeah, OER is free, but it's not free to create. And it takes time, it takes support, it takes training. Yes. And also easy access without login or purchasing process. Great. And we actually will circle back to that. And when we talk about the pedagogical benefits, the strategies, we'll revisit all the answers. So thank you very much for sharing the challenges. And we're going to move on to our topic, the next section. Okay, so we'll come back to that. All right, you can keep your thoughts. Don't hold on your thoughts. Well, you're probably what we talked about, and later on will kind of inspire you some other challenges you can think of. So, all right, so we want to talk about the historical issues because we want to highlight the significance of this topic. So, so this is actually, we'll start with the numbers for people who love numbers and statistics. And those are the facts related to the historical issue in higher ed or related to affordability. So, so the total student debt in the United States is over 1.5 trillion. And the next slide will show that 44 million Americans have outstanding student loan debt. So actually, it has become one of the most significant consumer debt categories. And actually, these alarming statistics tell us that we have students who are struggling with outstanding student loan debt. We have students who are maybe not well served traditionally well in the higher education. So, and even though the student loan is not a result of the tuition fee alone, so tuition fees include textbooks, supplies, rooms and board, and other living expenses. So textbooks are a significant portion of the educational costs for the students. If we flash back to the year of 2016, if you actually closely and or explore or look at the OER trends, you will know that that year it's really have alarming the statistic to show that from the Bureau of the Labor Statistics, the college textbook prices, you can see from here, between 2006 and 2016, the prices rose 88%. So it's really like triple the rate of the consumer price index, 27%. And then if you see this graphic, it shows that over the year alone, the tuition has been on the rise, and you see the textbook even have been above the cost of the tuition. And so that's the need for the affordable and OER hold the promise in reducing the cost. And here's a survey that University of Missouri and in Columbia campus in 2007. So we did a student survey, and then we find out the impact of the textbook costs. And almost 61% of students, they said they chose not to purchase a required textbook because of the textbook costs. And 75% of students reported that, and then they delayed to purchase a required textbook. And also 17% of students reported that their grades negatively actually affected by this not accessing the course materials. And about 15% of the students said, and they have dropped the class because of the cost of the textbook. So that really alarmed, our university, and then started the initiative OER grant, and to help faculty, support faculty to develop or adopt OER in their courses. So in 2017, and you see this graphic, and then college textbook price started falling. That's very interesting phenomena because of the reason of the competition from the newcomers from the OER landscape, OER publisher, OpenStax, and also so the publishers also we also institutions and partner with the publisher and trying to offer the low cost solution for the students. So many major colleges, universities, including us, launched OER to address this. OER really holds a great promise. And so the awareness of OER and also increased. This is the survey did by the Bayview Analytics, formerly known as the Basin Survey Research. And so it shows that actually from the 2018 to 2019, so the improvements in the OER awareness. So OER is not new, but still there are some existing issues, especially for this during this time of crisis, the COVID-19 pandemic, the global pandemic. So actually, this report just freshly came out last month, and there are some key findings from the public interest and research group. So it says students continue to skip buying assigned textbooks, and also more students are skipping access codes during the pandemic. And COVID-19 is hitting students hard and impact the course material affordability. So students actually share textbook in the past, and they can go to library, borrow the textbooks and physical textbooks. But now, because of that health and safety issue, and then so they probably will hesitate to borrow books from the library, or if they go to the library, bring them back, and then they have to quarantine, and so the library also have to quarantine the resources. Those are all the health related issues cause the huge barriers for students to access the materials. And also the lack of the reliable internet also correlates with the significant issues for course material access. So Pearl will be explain more about that related to digital divide. Okay, so then the food insecure students skip buying the course materials. As we know, unemployment level were at historical high last year. And so this also caused all kind of chains of the issues. So let's let my colleague and Pearl to talk about the access issue.
All right, thank you, Grace. Here, I want to bring the links more focused on who are our students and what are their needs and what's the gap between the text. We know the importance of the OER initiative, while we want to also get a bigger picture of the contextualized situation of to support student success. So one of the another historic issue related to the student success is about the access to the learning materials, resources, or internet. So we say technology plays the role of the double-edged sword, creates the access and inequality. And we see technology brings the convenience and bring the flexibility to meet diverse learning needs, but also at the same time, the access to technology, the affordability to technology resources and devices increase the gap. So, for example, the internet shatters the barriers of the time and space, while emerging technology tools itself actually deepens the divide between the educational haves and the have-nots. So, who are not those people who are most frequently minorities and less advantaged group of students. It is very important for the educators and scholars to design accessible learning environment and materials to narrow that digital divide. So when we talk about the digital divide, I want to give a brief definition of digital divide. It refers to the growing gap in internet access between the underprivileged member of the society, especially the urban and rural poor, the elderly, children, and adults with disabilities who do not have access to computers, the internet, and the digital resources, and compared to the groups of people who do have those access. From the most recent, the research shows nearly around 20% of the college students lack either or reliable devices or service to access, online learning. The recent COVID-19 quick also reported around 36% of the institutions they identified there's a strong, severe situation related to the access for the students. They may not have moderate or extreme difficulty getting the bandwidth or Wi-Fi continue their academic work. Another historic issue is about digital accessibility. So we think about our students' population is changing. A major part of the students' population is the students with disabilities actually continuously increasing in our higher education student body. Specifically, the U.S. Center for Disease Control categorized the four major groups of the students. They include the students with visual disability, students with auditory disability, students with cognitive, and students with motor disabilities. To include students with disabilities and support their success in our online and various learning environments, we have a series of the in higher education legal policies coming out. For example, American with Disability Act 1990, that is the ADA, and then the Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. Those two legal policies kind of grant the educational rights and opportunities for students with disabilities in higher education, and also to prohibit the discrimination against the students with disabilities. While Section 508 Rehabilitation Act and the Higher Education Opportunity Act 2008 more specifically address the digital accessibility issue to include and support the success of those groups of students. Section 508 more specifically talk about any information presented online or digital format has to be accessible to include students without any institutions receive the federal grant or funding, even the third-party contractor, as long as they receive the federal, fund, they have to combine the legal, combine with those legal terms. Otherwise, there will be, severe consequences. And Higher Education Opportunity Act 2008 clearly give a definition about universal design for learning and to provide the inclusive pedagogy and design framework includes students without disabilities, while also we see because of the diversify the students' body, we can say universal design for learning actually applicable to students, a larger range of the students' needs. And we will come to this framework in later slides. Here, some research briefly talking about the students with disabilities population change in higher education. In general, for example, we say there are around, among the 20 million students without disabilities in higher education, they enrolled in higher education secondary institutions, while around 20% of them identified with a disability in academic year 2015 to 2016. For this group of the students, they prefer online learning. They think online learning actually provides the flexibility and also a viable means for their access to the higher education learning. While even we say the enrollment is positive, while the persistence and the completion rate for the degree was not so positive. Only about 34% of the 4-year degree in 8 years for the students with disabilities, they complete the degree in the US. So there is a call for the increasing knowledge and awareness how to support the success of this group of the students in higher education and to meet the federal mandates. All right, so previous slide, we kind of more focused on students. For example, they have the digital access issue, and also the students with disabilities. But also we want to give a larger frame here to think about who we are teaching today and who we are working with. So when the students, they come to the classrooms, either online or in a virtual or physical, face-to-face learning environment, we see the students actually they bring into a lot of learner variables. Those learner variables including the student's age, gender, race, disability, sexual orientation, their prior knowledge at different levels, the memory, cognitive, learning behaviors, and their motivation, language proficiency level, social cultural background also different. So we actually working with students with a diverse students body, while the current issue is the staff and also the faculty is more the diversity pace not reflective, the diversified students' body. So that is a challenge. How we kind of trying to working on this large group of the students with diverse learning needs. So in general, we say understanding the diverse learning needs and contextualize the students' learning situation will help instructors develop the connection with students in various learning environments. And we want to support the success of this broad range of the students. So Grace, can we move to the next slide?
Okay, thank you, Pearl. Yeah, there's a little echo there. Sorry about that. Okay, so we talked about the affordability, the benefits, OER benefits, and also access. So let's kind of zoom in to see what are real pedagogical benefits here. And with the advantages, if you're familiar with OER, or if you haven't heard about OER, so OER actually allow the open licensing. So the licensing structures of OER, as you see on the right-hand side, actually on the right-hand side, it said open, right? OER is free and also it's open. So open meaning for users, you're able to remix, revise, reuse, and retain, and redistribute. So according to the literature, as you see on the left-hand side, and so this structure of OER provides instructor greater flexibility using the resources. So like the COVID situation, so when all the courses are pushed online, and then some of those source resources like copyrighted, the faculty may ask us, and so how can I use this as a fair use to show this film or to show this video as I did in the classroom? And then can I use the resources copyrighted or just uploaded to my online courses? So all of those copyrighted materials, and then so it may limit the way how instructor can adapt their resources to their own teaching. So this is actually the benefits that instructor, they're able to adapt and revise or adding their teaching style into their resource to actually also to personalize the learning, to help students to make their learning relevant to the current situation or their career path even. So, and then the second bullet here is talking about so the public health, then and also the social justice, those current events. You really couldn't really find those information from the textbook. And then it takes about a couple of years or even longer to have a new edition of the textbook to publish this current events or information and to reflect the discipline, the current information for the discipline. And then the last bullet is talking about, I will talk about more later, to more focusing on this learners and how OER this licensing structure to empower students to be able to become active learners and to really enable them to participate in creating or editing OER. So the next slide, I will let the Pearl to talk more about the other OER enabled pedagogy.
Thank you, Grace. All right, so we talked about the needs to support student success and also the importance of OER, and then we kind of want to know what really work and what kind of be helping, to support the students' learning needs. So we say OER enabled inclusive pedagogy and design. The major framework we're using here is Universal Design for Learning. So Universal Design for Learning originally started from the CAST, Massachusetts Research Institution. So UDR, it is a social justice model to support the students with diverse learning needs. We talk about right now we are working students with all users. We want them to be successful. So their persistence and retention is kind of important for the graduation rate and also their future career paths. This group of the students, we say, includes students without disabilities in general and also underrepresented minorities. It could be students with learning disabilities like non-proficient readers or English language learners or non-traditional students, working parents, students, commuters. So to support all learner success is a primary goal for Universal Design for Learning framework. In general, Universal Design for Learning framework is guided by three major principles: the multiple means of representation, multiple means of engagement, and multiple means of the action and expression. So currently, a lot of if we talk about the digital accessibility, that is more focused on the multiple means of the representation, how the instructor or how we design the courses as an instructional designer or librarian. We help the learning materials to make the information be presented in a way easier for students to process the information. So that is one issue related to the issue accessibility. While we say Universal Design for Learning is also kind of focused on some other, dimensions like engagement, how we talk about motivation, provide a certain challenge, help students, raise the high standard of the expectation, provide immediate feedback, detailed constructive feedback, help them to engage. Another part, it's about how students, they can demonstrate their knowledge through the learning process. So we give them the tools, the choices, and also engage them, involve them in help them to develop their autonomy, make choices, set up goals, and also make those goals be achievable and become independent, resourceful learners. So Universal Design for Learning, this framework itself is also a research-based framework. While we see that it's a very interdisciplinary framework, combined rich research evidence from the fields of the neuroscience, how human learn, how we ourselves learn as a human being, and how our brain, function when the learning happens. Also draw the evidence from the learning science and cognitive psychology. So this basically draw from 800 peer-reviewed research articles to come up with those standards, principles to guide, provide the inclusive pedagogy and design. And we see in Universal Design for Learning here is kind of in line with the OER to support the wider range of the student success. We care about not only providing the accessible documents, but also we care about how to provide inclusive pedagogy to engage the students and support their success. So the current trend of adopting Universal Design for Learning in higher education is very promising. Especially in recent 10 years, we notice there's a big movement for each, department, unit, even and our office, we do see a lot of our work actually tied into Universal Design for Learning principles. For example, right now we are doing a quality course review process. The 5 pillar standards, many of them kind of in line with the Universal Design for Learning framework. In general, UDL principle, there's a lot of research has been done in K-12 settings. In higher education, and it is catching up, and it's very promising to see, how people, instructors, instructional designers, librarians, and people from different units trying to implement this framework to bring the learning materials more accessible, and also think about the inclusive pedagogy to engage our students. Grace, let's move to the specific, pedagogy practices and also the design process.
Great, thank you, Pearl. And so we talked about the benefits beyond affordability, and also Pearl gave us the framework and incorporating URL and how to use this pedagogy into the courses or online courses. So I'd like to focus on how OER actually enable that the certain teaching practice can be more empowering students from the knowledge consumer to the knowledge producer. Because when we think about OER, oftentimes we think about their resources. And so how I'm going to adopt or just adapt and use it in my class to disseminate it to the students, to give away these materials for students to learn. So, but we kind of overlooked the way that, and then I mentioned earlier that the license structure, that the 5 R's enable the users, faculties, and also the students. They can actually become the knowledge producer. So actually OER offers more than just a resource, just a can be like a consumer-based type of usage. But we can actually make it a more meaningful and also integrate the OER teaching and the learning practices in the online learning, as we know that, and the online learning really requires more creative or innovative ways for students to get motivated. So student retention has been a really very important, significant issues for online education. So how we can get the online students motivated. And so as Pearl mentioned earlier about some motivation strategy, and it gives student choices, gives students autonomy to know them as diverse learners, not only just a one-size-fits-all strategy. So this is where OER brings in not only the access to knowledge or information, but OER enabled pedagogy or teaching practices can provide the access to the community, the participation, the also the actively participating into in generating the knowledge together. So that way will really make the teaching and learning practices more creative and innovative. So, but down to the earth. So how we can really use course design strategies. And we talk about a lot of conceptual framework and how we can, so which is are actually important. We'll know why. And now how are we going to make it happen to use the very applicable course design strategies into OER integrated teaching and learning practice. Instructional design is very important for online teaching and learning, and also very important to, as you see this literature says, it's even more important and challenging as well because of the flexibility offered by OER. So the framework that we use is to design the online course, also can apply to the OER practice or teaching and learning practice. When you planning or when you select OER or adopt OER or create OER or engaging any type of OER enabled practice, think about this backward way. So just we'll just start with where you want students to be. You'll identify the desired outcomes as you see the little car moving down. So you will know what a student be able to do after finishing this course, or even after 2 years, completing this course, 10 years. And then you will look at the assessment, this evidence. And so what are the assessment strategies to gather those or generate those appropriate evidence for students to achieve these course learning objectives? And then at the end, you think about OER practices do I choose this OER just for sake of OER or for sake of just cool? And then I can just bring this open textbook to my course, or just select this resources or tons of resources in my class. So will this resource or will this strategy activity really creating that motivating learning experience that support the learning objectives, your desired outcome at the beginning you identify? So this is actually instructional design framework we want to share. And then, oh, sorry, next slide. So then I'm gonna talk about this particular examples and how we can really use this strategy when you design your activity, or when you adopt a resource, or when you really use the open pedagogy, or you call it OER enabled pedagogy into your course. You how you can start, how you can get started. So if you're familiar with instructional design, so you're familiar with the Bloom's taxonomy here on the right-hand side, which will help you to identify and then, the levels of complexity of learning. So start with the remember, and then understand, apply, and also analyze, evaluate, and create. So from the bottom to the lower order thinking skills to the higher order thinking skills. So when you think about your activities, or you think about the learning objectives which you want to develop, so you think about what are the major knowledge and skills you want the students to achieve at the end of the course. Or if you use, for example, first bullet there, multiple choice quizzes. So you assess their understanding, you assess their actually comprehension level of thinking skills. And so if you ask students to become not a consumer of the knowledge, but become a actually the generator or producer of the knowledge. So you ask students to create multiple choice questions and to foster their creative thinking skills. And so then eventually they will create a text bank. The text bank will be used by the future students, and then they can refine it, or they can provide a peer feedback. If you're putting students in the center, thinking about that they are the creator or producer of the knowledge, so you will see that the thinking skills from here, from the Bloom's taxonomy, from the understanding, comprehension, and move up to the create. So of course, when you test or when you assess students the higher order thinking skills, you do need to providing this supporting the steps to make sure that they understand, they make sure that they have the scaffolded, supported preparedness to reach to the higher order thinking skills. Those are just the examples that from the social psychology, which in the handouts, and then you will find more detailed the context or scenario about how to use OER enabled strategy or pedagogy to design your course. And then another example is to edit, or if necessarily create Wikipedia articles related to the public health topics. This is from the public health discipline. So again, in that situation, in that scenario, she's asking the fourth year of the medical students. So really asking them to demonstrate their higher order thinking skills. So instead of asking the first year of students, and then you need to ensure that students have that knowledge and then have that skills, and also providing the support for students to create that type of the resources, and also providing the feedback and peer learning experience. So that's why the OER pedagogy really push the students in the center. So they are, and the instructor become like co-creator or co-producer of the knowledge. So so the role needs to be a shift, and also that needs the design, needs the planning, and also needs the effort of you work with the instructional designer, and then you also work with the students and prepare them to be ready for this type of the learning practices. So then the last bullet I put that right there is from our institution. So there's a nursing course, clinical course. The students actually are assigned to create the course learning objectives with the instructors. So it's really individualized learning, as you know, for nursing clinical courses. So instead of the instructor providing the learning objectives, and then instructors and really put students in their own situation, and then to give them autonomy and really help them to see their individualized goals to create the learning objectives together. So those are the examples. And then, I see now it's 9:45. We will move to the activity 2. We have 15 minutes, and then we will look at the question that you have, and also we'll go back to your first board, and then to look at the challenges. You put it out there. We'll see if anything that we can address. Okay, so let's start from the left to the right. We'll make it organized. Opportunities. I have a lot of students who not have the money to buy textbooks. Yes, this is opportunities and reduce the cost of the education. Educating faculty on the benefits. The fact that open does not have to mean not peer reviewed. Yes, actually there is some myth there, and so for faculty or for almost all of us, including me, when we think about something free, we kind of critic about the quality of the resources. If it's a free, and then what about the quality? The quality actually more and more textbooks, open textbooks, are peer reviewed. So yes, again, so OER is free for students, but it's not free to create. So here, difficult to get faculty in my department to agree on OER. We talked about that. And administration, yes, that's actually a big challenging. Buy-in from the powers. Someone is still continually working on that. So I'll let you to finish the sentence. Nursing is one of those topics that is difficult to find. Yes, you're not alone, whoever entered that answer. So there are some disciplines are really hard to find anything so related to OER. So the instructors then have to create an open textbook. If you were in the sessions and yesterday afternoon, so one of the sessions, and Heather and Felicity, and so that's the open textbook that I helped with. So they couldn't find any topics or in their discipline, so library science discipline. So they create an open textbook. So then let's see, there is opportunities, easy access without login and the purchasing process. Yes, easy access. I think this is probably talking about that A&OER, affordable. Yes, affordable, and sometimes I know the inclusive, let's say inclusive access, bundled with the tuition for students. But after the semester, what about the student needs to go back to work on the core content and complete some national exams or certification exams, but the access code is expired. So how we can continue perpetual access, providing that a perpetual access to the students. Yes, those are OER can providing that easy access without logins, without any purchasing. Okay, challenges, finding OER material that are relevant to topic, finding OER materials that can be accessed easily. Yes, access again. Okay, wow, we have more. Okay, we do have this palette available for you on our resource page in the Google Doc page. So, and also can be, this is our, after the session, we can also continually generate some thoughts and then feedback on this board if you would like. I have used OER, but they were not accessible. So I also have assigned an optional textbook that were accessible. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's actually a helpful way to providing optional for the students. Our bookstore is not efficient, so having an immediate option is good. Yeah, bookstore plays a big role in the OER initiative. Okay, so do we have any other comments wants to add?
Grace, I want to add one.
Okay, great.
I think another challenge we notice is about the workload, because to create the content of the OER, we do need a lot of collaboration, partnership. Well, due to the available institutional support and policy, and also the workload of the faculty. So that's why I think that might be the challenge, and difficult to get faculty to buy in because of the workload and also we know the benefits of the OER for the student success, and also lower the cost fee for students to buy our textbooks, while the burden is on the workload side from the creators, and how we bring into more resources and advocate the policies to support the content creators. But I do see the instructional designers, librarians will also play an important role to, for example, to practice digital accessibility practice, and to collaborate and create the content as well. So it is a long way to go, but yeah, the challenge is kind of
yeah, that's exactly, Pearl. Challenges can become opportunities and also can become barriers. It's a double-edged sword. And so for talk about the OER benefits and the time and the workload and enough support for faculty to create, and also pedagogical benefits. So sometimes it's hard to really, it's very easy to overlook that benefits from this learning standpoints. Actually, if we can help faculty to realize that the benefits behind not only the affordability, not only the access, not only all the resource related, but also can really help students to learn better and help students to really have their autonomy, control, and then to own something that they create, and also can have a public good and can share it with a wider audience. And then there are actually a research talking about, so if we wider the audience of their work, students' work, so it will also increase the motivation for students to create a more quality work if they know the piece of art that I draw, and then will be seen by more people, or my friends, or by the other people or who are in my field, or similar with the journal articles. So I think will help students or also faculty see the benefits more than just a resource. Yes, I agree, Pearl. Takes a village for OER initiative or creating a quality OER course or OER resource.
But exactly, that is kind of lying in our public institutions' mission, right, to create and help the public good.
Yes.
So we still have,
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Pearl. I think I talked over you, so.
You don't. All right, so we still have some minutes left. Let's move to activity 2. Do you mind open the Padlet activity 2?
Yes. Okay, perfect. Somebody's already get the head start. So our activity 2 is really we are exercise our spirit OER here, and we want you to share the resources that you collected related to OER here, and it can be resources you find helpful from your library, or resources you think is really helpful for faculty to create to adopt OER. So we can generate this the resource board together, and then if you're willing, so we can make it as OER and can be shared and to more audience, then you can take it away and to use it at your institution or at your work. So you can do that as the same process as you do. You can type your URL to your web browser, or click the link from the discussion forum, or use the QR code to scan. Will take you to this Padlet board. Okay, so.
Yeah, so we are crowdsourcing all the brains together and to share the knowledge and the skills. So basically on this Padlet thread, so we have shared the PowerPoint and also the additional resources about OER if you are interested, and for future reference and further study and application in your field. Also, just like brief that please, bring the resources you are, available to share and be aware of, and we will make this Padlet as an open educational source to the public as well.
Yes. That's great. While you are still working on this Padlet board, and I want to take you to see this handout. Okay, let me open the new window. So you will see in this handout, we have the session slides available, make it available for you, and also the activity Padlet. So you will refer back to the thoughts or input in the conversations we had. And also those are faculty resources. And if you are helping with faculty create OER, or you are faculty who are creating OER, adapt OER into your course, so here is actually open textbook. It's called a Faculty OER Toolkit. It includes all those very detailed information to help you to get started and help you to create OER. And then, so here is some examples. Some of the examples I mentioned in my slide, but this is an open education group. It includes even the templates of how to use OER pedagogy into your course. The examples from the real world, if you have time, you can go through them. And so go back to the handouts. And here is the open pedagogy assignment directions. So what we shared with you, all the resources, those are all OER. So you're able to adapt, you're able to revise it and make it more fit into your students' needs. So as we talked about, the students are diverse, and also the teaching is also very so it's very personalized, that you can actually based on the needs of students to make it more relevant for them. And then here is the lesson plan template with helpful notes. So that actually includes that backward design framework to guide you, to help you to design a lesson that with the OER integrated lesson, or it can be used for online course or hybrid course, or this is actually generic template. And then the last one is a resource on the writing learning objectives. So it's really important to think about what do you want the students to achieve at the end before starting anything else. And so designing activities or and also bring in the resources to support the learning outcomes. So those are all the resources available and for you. And just let you know here.
So Grace, do you think we also give the audience the opportunity whether they have any questions for us, since we still have 2 minutes and 30 seconds?
Yes, thank you, Pearl. And how can I go back to the question? Okay, here we go. I see there is a little pop-up here. Do we have any questions? You can type it in the discussion forum for us. And please feel free to use that Padlet, or and also we have our email available for you as well. I'm going to type my email address in the chat box. Okay.
All right, so here's mine.
Seeing the resource board, and so I think this is from our librarian fellows and shared open access journal resources. Yes, those are very helpful. And OER starter kit. Yeah, this is also an open textbook. Yeah, it's published through the press books. We're actually looking at the press book right now in our university. So we're actually preparing to roll it out. It's very exciting. Okay. Any questions? Don't hesitate to type your questions in the discussion forum. So I know we shared our concerns and challenges or opportunities in our board. So you may have especially the questions related to the sessions, let us know. Oh, here's our Carmen. Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you, Carmen.
Well, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up. I want to thank Grace and Pearl for that really interesting presentation. I know I learned a lot. So just a couple of logistical things before we end the session. Please provide feedback for this session through the survey that will pop up when you leave. You may have been in sessions yesterday and not seen a pop-up due to a technical difficulty. If you could please go back to the sessions that you attended yesterday. Once you re-enter and leave again, the pop-up will show up and you can give feedback on those sessions. We apologize for any inconvenience this causes you all. The next session is at 10:30 a.m. And during this break, we encourage you to check out the meeting hub and connect with other attendees. To leave this session, you can click back to the timeline link at the top left-hand corner of the portal. And thank you very much for attending this session.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jaleh.